So now let's go to the fifth lesson or the fifth story with Moses and Miriam. Or should I say the other way around?
Miriam
and Moses. Because that's exactly the type of story that we will talk about. And in the lesson, you deal with the role reversal. So to get a little bit more personal, I'm going to ask each of you to give an example in your own life when you did experience this for yourself, a reversal of role in work or family. Let's do there. And then also to think through how did Jesus teach on role reversal apart from servant leadership, right? What other ways did he teach and demonstrate the role reversals in his ministry?
This is a really pivotal, I think, lesson, and it really gets to the fundamentals of the gospel. Of course, what we see in the story of Miriam and Moses is sort of that age reversal. Here's Miriam, who's, changed Moses' diapers. She's the big sister. She seems like a powerful woman, capable woman. She sings. Not only does she help rescue Moses when he's a baby, delivers him in the basket, but we also see her on the other side of the Red Sea singing the song of praise. So she has natural leadership. I think more than just the reversal of age here is really about the reversal of authority. It's really a lesson about authority and how ego and power works. This story where Miriam, and it seems as if Aaron is sort of caught up in her power struggle. He sort of comes along. Aaron seems to be influenceable. He can kind of go either way. He's influenced by the people at the golden calf. But this story that we're seeing here in Numbers is really a story about authority and the inability to recognize the authority in others, and how we need to be rescued from this tendency in us to want to grasp for power or want to grasp to be in charge. And you mentioned servant leadership of Jesus, and I think that the gospel, we've quoted the Sermon on the Mount a couple times. When you look at the ministry of Jesus, it's one reversal after the other. Many theologians talk about Jesus's kingdom message as the upside down kingdom because it's so opposite of how the world thinks. The world really thinks if you're in charge, if you're at the top, if you're the richest, if you have the most authority, that's where real power lies. Jesus comes along and he tells his disciples who are arguing who's the greatest, he says it's he who's the least, it's he who's the servant, it's he who's the younger, rather than all of the typical points of status. But he reverses in a lot of other ways too, like with not just loving your own, but loving your enemy. All of a sudden, the very structures of authority that we have been nursed on since childhood in our carnal nature reinforces. Jesus is undermining those, and he's asking for us to come in below and beneath and find this power through weakness. So we'll come back to this again with the story of Naaman and the little girl later on is a very similar kind of message. For myself, I've experienced this on both sides. Just in a personal way. My father was a minister before I was, and I came in the same church, and after he stepped down, I came into a pastor's position, and all of a sudden I'm the pastor of my dad. And that was a really bizarre, still as a 50-year-old man, I'm still trying to orient myself with that dynamic. And I think it's these kinds of reversals put as much draw as much attention to the person who finds themselves not authority as much as it does for those in authority, that there really has to be a lot of humility and recognition and patience and understanding. Moses in this story, I think, shows why he's called the meekest man on the earth. It's not just about making sure Miriam and Aaron know who's boss. He comes in to rescue and restore the relationship that's broken. He intervenes. And I think that's what real true authority is about, is being ready to sacrifice yourself, to intervene, to reconcile.
Well, and I think, as far as authority is concerned in the role reversals is that, this role reversal becomes difficult when, let's say if you go from a position of authority to a position of being under someone else's authority. We're used to leading with maybe without following, and now you're asked to follow. And I think that difficulty comes about because of when authority becomes associated more with control, where you're controlling a person, and that's really a loss of dignity for the other person. And so I think what if you're in the position of authority and you're controlling the people beneath you, then you're not showing them the respect and the dignity that you need. That they can make their own decisions, and that it's less in terms of the authority than it is in different roles. I mean, it's as you move up the different roles, you should be delegating more and more responsibility to those under you, and then you taking less and less of those responsibilities on, and you again being the servant and making sure that everybody has the resources they need. But sometimes we end up making that authority a position of power or control, and that's when it makes those role reversals very difficult because it becomes kind of a self-worth thing again. As far as personal examples, I guess I just think the one I'm kind of working with now is kind of a trivial example, but I don't think the superintendents would mind me sharing this, but it's in our roles we're trying to get Google Drive working and getting all the guys working on Google Drive together and things, and so we show might show them that you just click on this and then you get on here, maybe you have to right click on this and then do this and this and then you're done, and then some of the guys that are not used to computers, it's really difficult for them, and it's like, well, it's just like this, it's simple, but it's that whole everything being out of context, so that's difficult for them, but it's fairly, I've done it before, so it's fairly simple for me. And then President Stacy, Lauren, he's actually on a Mac, and he usually doesn't need much help, but occasionally he's asked for my help, and then I go over to help him on his Mac, and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I can really relate to, the ones that are having the difficulty. So that kind of role reversal, when you think you've got all the answers, and then you go over to the other side of the world and you don't have any of the answers, then you can kind of feel what the other person is feeling. And I think it's important to go through those role reversals so that you have compassion and respect and patience for the other side. And talking about as far as the examples Jesus had as far as these kind of role reversals or reversals that he was talking about. Jason mentioned the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is filled with those. And so I really thank you for your question, because I think that really becomes evident when you see that. And the one, if I just pick one as an example, I think of the one where he said it's more blessed to give than to receive, and that's just mind-boggling for humans. It's like, no, it's more blessed to receive. But when you realize that when you're giving, you feel God's love, God's presence in you, and His love flowing through you, and you feel the joy of His presence, then you really realize, man, it really is more blessed to give, because I feel the presence of God in me when I do that.
Right. So the theme here is that we would be rescued from what?
Rebellion, I think, is part of this.
And we're restored to
understanding of authority.
Right. Okay. And that it's not really us. We're just placed there. It could be switched anytime.
It's not a power game.
Right.
It's really about finding yourself as servants of God in different roles, and those roles will change from time to time.
Right.
And that's where you get the scripture that says, that we're to submit to each other. It's that mutual submission.
Right, all the time. So with that, we'll go to the next lesson.